Hey guys, I apologize for the black screen, but so I've not been feeling good today. I've just had this really bad headache that just will not go away. So I've been like in bed most of the day, taking naps and just trying to stay hydrated and everything. So as I was taking my nap, there was this phrase that kept coming in and out of my spirit through the entire nap. And usually when the Lord gives me a word like that, I will immediately write it down so that I don't forget it. But I just was so not feeling good that I didn't do that. And I was like mentally trying to tell myself to remember it. I was like, remember this, remember this. I don't know if I would have remembered it or not, but I just went back to sleep. Okay, so, but it was almost like God was trying to make me remember it, because as I was coming out of my nap, that phrase came to me again. Like as soon as I came to, it was like right there at the forefront of my mind. Just I don't know how to describe it. It just like comes at me in waves. And that phrase was setting up watch. There was no further understanding or anything given to me with it. Sometimes God gives me further knowledge with things, sometimes he doesn't. But I can tell you what it makes me think of. When you set up watch for something, you are on the lookout for something, something's about to happen, something's about to go down. What it makes me think of is, and I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite things to do in the summer that was it's kind of like a tradition for me, something I used to do when I was a little girl with my grandparents and my aunt, was we would sit out on the deck at night, because my grandparents, we live in West Virginia, they lived in the country, I live in the country, and we just get beautiful views of the skies at night here in West Virginia out in the country. And so what we would do when I was a little girl was we would sit out on the deck and watch the stars and watch for meteors and things like that. And so that just kind of carried over into my adult life, where me and my husband live now. We live in the country. And so one of my favorite things to do is sit out on our deck summer nights and just kind of make a thing out of it. I'll get my favorite blanket and get a snack or a drink and just kind of pull up my favorite rocking chair out there and just kind of set up watch. I will set up watch and just make a night out of it. It's just the most relaxing thing, and I just will spend about an hour out there praying and just thinking about things. And so when I think about setting up watch, I think about like looking up to the heavens, and it's kind of like double confirmation for me, because the Lord, these past few weeks, everything he's giving me is pointing me up into the heavens. Like he's showing me things about constellations a whole lot these past few weeks, things about the moon and stars, and so it's just really making me think that he's pointing my attention up to the stars, up to the heavens for something. And so I just kept getting that phrase, setting up watch. I don't know what for. I know we're about to have a full moon on the 30th in 2 days. And I've really been thinking a lot about New Year's lately, because I'm seeing on a lot of your guys' videos of things that you feel God is showing you about things to happen around New Year's. Now, I don't know about you guys, but people around me in my real life, it's like when they're talking about New Year's, they say things like, oh, I can't wait for 2020 to be over, so that it's like in their mind, 2021, just the fact that it's going to be a new year, like to them, it just means that everything's going to go back to normal, and everything that's going on in the world right now is just going to be over and just magically go away. And I will say things to them like, oh, I don't know why, but I have a feeling that maybe things are going to be worse and not go back to normal. And of course, they don't like to hear that. So I've just kind of learned to, leave it alone, because people are convinced in their own minds of what they want to believe. And so, it's like they say, ignorance is bliss. So I've just kind of learned to let that go. So, but I just keep hearing people around me say things like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for 2021. Everything's going to go back to normal. And if you ask them, like, why? Why do you think that things are going to just stop and go back to normal like they used to be? And it's like they don't have an answer for that, but they don't like to hear it. They get very touchy about it. So anyway, I've been thinking about New Year's because, like I said, some of your guys' videos I've been seeing, and I just keep thinking more and more back to the dream that I had like 2 or 3 years ago. And it was the one where in the dream I was preparing for a New Year's party. I never have New Year's parties. I never go to New Year's parties. It's just something that I never really got into. So it was very unusual that I would dream that. So I was preparing for a New Year's party, and then I stepped outside and I looked straight up into the constellation of Orion. Again, the Lord gives me a lot of like rapture dreams where I'm raptured up into constellations. And so in that dream, I looked up into, I just knew in the dream I was looking at Orion's belt. And as I was looking up into it, I started to be like, the best term that I can think of to describe it was I was being vacuumed up into the air. Like I was being pulled up, or like vacuumed up towards the sky, like the rapture. And that's when I woke up. I never made it back to the New Year's party. So that dream has really been on my mind lately, because this is the first year since I've had that dream that I could totally see us not being here for New Year's. Of course, I don't know, but it's just been on my mind. And with something I've learned this year is that God, at least with me, he has shown me that he does a lot of like play on word things. He does a lot of like I don't know another word for it other than play on words. Sometimes he's very symbolic with me. And what I mean is, when you think of New Year's and the ball dropping, I've noticed this year that the Lord, it almost seems pointless that over all these years we've been trying to like figure out the calendars and where we're at and what time it is, because it seems like this year it's almost like the Lord knew that Satan was going to do what he was going to do with confusing time and the calendars and trying to throw a monkey wrench in and confuse everything. And it's almost like God is having the last laugh or the final say with that, because it's almost like he said, okay, Satan's going to do that, but, joke's on you, ha ha, because it seems like things are really lining up this year, if that makes sense. It seems like whenever something happens, there's something that goes along with it that's kind of like a sign to the world or to just people in general. So anyway, with New Year's, I've been thinking a lot about, the ball drops on New Year's. When you say when you're saying something, when you say the ball is about to drop, that means like, something's about to happen, something's about to go down, the ball is about to drop on something. And I just kind of have a feeling or a hunch that the Lord's going to do a play on words with that. Like I said, the world is looking for things to go back to normal and just, change overnight just because it's 2021. And then also I've been thinking about it because, New Year's Eve into New Year's Days, the whole theme is about midnight. The ball drops at midnight. You guys know the Lord has been giving me things about him coming back at midnight. And then I've been seeing a lot of trying to think of some of the channel names of videos that people have been doing about following things that are going on in the constellations right now. There's a channel called God a Minute. That's one of the channels. Who else? Can't remember right now. Anyway, so there's a lot of channels of people who pay attention to, God's calendar at the end of the day is the heavens. And it just goes back to what I said about, we've been trying to figure out, oh my gosh, do we follow the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, the Hebrew, what do we do? And I feel like it's almost as if, a few years ago, back when it was a really big thing that so many of us were trying to figure out what calendar to follow, I just kind of like got on my knees and I said, Lord, tell me, what calendar do we follow? What time is it? And I was like praying on that. And the next morning when I woke up, I heard in my spirit, I heard loud and clear. If you guys know what Gregorian chanting is, that's what I heard. Like plain as day. And I was like, I knew right away what the Lord was saying. He was saying the Gregorian calendar. And I remember sharing that with people, and it just did not set well with people. They didn't want to hear that for some reason, so I just let it go. But like I said, I feel like the Lord is He allowed the times and calendars to be confused for a reason, because in the end, it was kind of like Satan thought he had one up on the Lord because he could make us not even know where we're at in time. But as I said, God is in control of all of this at the end of the day. And it's almost like it doesn't really matter what Satan tries to do with confusing the times, because the Lord knew it was all going to happen. And it, like I said, everything seems to be perfectly in place somehow. So I feel like with New Year's coming, I feel like maybe we won't be here after that. I don't know. I kind of flip-flop on it, because part of me can totally see us being gone at, literally the last second. One of the other channels is Brother Rhodey. He has a video titled something like The Riddle of the End from the Beginning. So I could totally see how, Jesus is he's a savior. He's someone that he comes in right at the last second. And in fact, one of the words that he gave me when I asked him when he was coming was, he said, in the nick of time, in the nick of time. So it's like, it's just in his character to come literally at the last second. So as I've also said before, when we're gone, when he takes us out of here, it has to be a message to those left behind. Imagine if the rapture happened at the very last day of the year, very last second at midnight, from December 31st into January 1st, which, you guys, that's a 3/11. 3/11. 31st and the 1st. So many of us, God has given us that number, 3/11. And in fact, it's the first video I have on this new channel. Is I was taking a nap one day, and I flew up off the couch because I was hearing in my spirit, alert 3/11. And I remember that 3/11, March 11, was like the official day of everything that started with COVID. It was like the official day of the lockdowns, I think it was. So, yeah, I could see it happening. So many of us have had dreams about New Year's countdowns, and I feel like I could just talk on that for an hour, but I could see it happening that way. But also, as I was saying, I kind of flip-flop, because I've had dreams of mine and my husband's personal life about things in future years. But, that could be just because, things that God was showing us to expect if he doesn't come back first. So I really don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to share with you guys that I got the word setting up watch, and he just keeps directing me up to the heavens to watch for something. I'm hoping and praying that it's 2 moons, because you guys know all the dreams that so many of us have had, that when it's like the moment the rapture happens, there's 2 moons or what looks like 2 moons in the sky. And that's like the only thing that I have yet to like check off of my like rapture sign list of just personal things that he's shown me. And you know, if he takes us out of here the last day of this year at midnight, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, you could look at that symbolically as 2 moons as well. Like the moon is for signs, seasons, days, years. You could look at it as one moon being 1 year, 2020, and the second moon being 2021. And like I said, we're about to have a full moon here in just a couple of days. But I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud and wanted to share this with you guys. All right, bye.